There is a question most people have never asked themselves directly. Not are you making enough, not are you saving enough, but this. Are you actually affording your life, or are you just maintaining it? I'm Max of Monkey Money, and those two things look identical from the outside. They produce very different financial outcomes over time. Affording your lifestyle means your income covers your expenses, your debt payments, and your savings without stress or reliance on new debt. Maintaining your lifestyle means the calendar keeps moving, the bills keep getting paid, and everything looks functional on the surface, but the structure underneath is held together with borrowed money, zero savings, and the assumption that nothing unexpected will happen. The distinction matters because maintaining feels like affording, and the longer you maintain without realizing it, the deeper the gap gets between your lifestyle and what you actually have. Let's start with the signs that you're in maintenance mode because most people who are living there don't know it. The first sign is persistent credit card debt, not a balance you'll pay off next month. A recurring balance that never quite disappears because new spending replenishes it before the old balance is cleared. If your credit card statement at the end of each month shows roughly the same balance it showed 6 months ago, despite making payments, you're not paying off debt. You're servicing it while continuing to fund a lifestyle that your cash flow can't fully support. The second sign is no emergency buffer. Research shows that 44% of adults in the United States cannot cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing, not a catastrophic emergency, a $1,000 one-off. If an unexpected car repair, medical bill, or home expense would require you to put it on a credit card or ask someone for money, you are not affording your lifestyle. You're one inconvenience away from a debt event. The third sign is that your housing costs consume more than 30% of your gross income. 30% is the standard threshold that financial planners use as the upper limit for housing costs as a percentage of income. Above that threshold, housing is compressing every other category of your financial life. The savings rate gets squeezed, the discretionary margin gets squeezed, and any unexpected expense has nowhere to be absorbed without going into debt. A household earning $7,000 a month should be spending no more than $2,100 on housing. If the number is $2,800 or $3,200, that's the reason the financial picture always feels tight regardless of the income. The fourth sign is income dependence. The paycheck to paycheck dynamic, where there is nothing meaningful left at the end of the month, and any gap in income would immediately create a crisis. Income dependence is different from being broke. A person can be income dependent on a $120,000 salary and genuinely cash flow positive on a $50,000 salary. The distinction is not the income level. It's the margin between income and outflow and whether that margin is wide enough to absorb the realistic costs of being human. The fifth sign is lifestyle creep that perfectly tracks income increases. Every raise gets absorbed by the lifestyle before it has a chance to improve the financial position. The car gets upgraded, the apartment gets nicer, the experiences get more expensive, and 2 years after the raise, the savings rate is identical to what it was before, just on a higher budget. Here's the banana version of maintenance mode, because I think it captures the feeling better than any financial framework. Imagine you've got a solid-looking banana operation, bunches coming in regularly, everything appears to be running smoothly, and anyone watching from the outside would assume you're doing great. But every bunch that comes in goes straight out. A bunch for rent, a bunch for the car, a bunch for the subscriptions, a bunch to pay back the bananas you borrowed last month when the car needed repairs. The operation looks busy and productive. The stash never actually grows. That is maintenance. It looks like affording. It isn't. Now let's talk about what the difference actually looks like when you build it into a framework, because the goal isn't just to diagnose the problem, it's to have a clear enough picture that you can make different decisions. The 50-30-20 rule is the most widely understood budget structure, and it's a useful starting point even if your numbers don't match it perfectly. 50% of take home pay goes to needs: housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments. 30% goes to wants: dining out, entertainment, subscriptions, clothing, anything discretionary. 20% goes to savings and additional debt repayment. Let us also put a concrete number on what affording actually looks like at a specific income. Take a household with a combined take home of $8,000 per month. Under the 50-30-20 rule, $4,000 covers needs, $2,400 goes to wants, and $1,600 goes to savings and debt repayment. If that household has housing costs of $2,800, the needs bucket is already at 35% of income before a single other need has been funded. Transportation, insurance, utilities, and groceries easily push needs to 55 or 60%, which means savings and wants are getting compressed structurally, not because of irresponsible choices. The most important thing to understand about this framework is that the 20% is not optional. If you're allocating 20% of take home to savings and debt paydown consistently, you are affording your lifestyle by definition. The remaining 80% is the lifestyle you can actually afford. If you're spending more than 80% of take home on your life, the lifestyle is exceeding what your income can sustain without debt. For many households, the needs category alone exceeds 50%. A $7,000 take home with $2,800 in housing alone is already at 40% before transportation, utilities, insurance, groceries, or any debt payments. When the needs category is structurally too large, when it's built on housing and car payments that locked in before the framework was applied, the 50-30-20 rule doesn't fix anything. It just makes the problem visible. Making it visible is still valuable because an honest picture of the structure is the first step toward changing it. If you've made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe to Monkey Money. It genuinely helps us keep making content like this, and we really appreciate every one of you. Now let's talk about the move from maintenance to actual affordability, because the diagnosis is only useful if there's a path out. The first and most important move is a full spending audit, not a budget projection, but a look backward at what actually happened in the last 30 days. Pull the bank statements, pull the credit card statements, categorize every transaction. This exercise almost always reveals $200 to $500 in spending that doesn't align with any conscious priority. Forgotten subscriptions, food delivery markups, small purchases that individually seem trivial but collectively represent a meaningful sum. The audit doesn't require willpower or discipline to execute, it just requires honesty. The spending audit is also worth running specifically against your subscription and recurring charge list because this category has grown significantly for most households in the last 5 years. The average American household in 2026 carries between 7 and 12 active subscription services, representing $80 to $200 per month in recurring charges. Many were added during free trials or moments of convenience that have since become invisible line items. A 30-minute subscription audit alone commonly surfaces $40 to $80 of monthly charges that survive only because they were never consciously canceled. And the act of seeing the real numbers, rather than relying on a rough estimate, tends to shift behavior automatically because it turns unconscious spending into conscious spending. The second move is automating savings before you can spend. Pay yourself first means moving your savings contribution before any discretionary spending has a chance to happen. Direct deposit splitting, or an automatic transfer scheduled for the moment your paycheck arrives, is the mechanism. On a take-home of $5,500 per month, A 20% savings automation moves $1,100 immediately. The $4,400 remaining becomes your operating budget. Within 60 days, $4,400 feels like income because it is your available income. You stop feeling the $1,100 as missing, and you stop spending it. The third move is addressing high interest debt directly, not passively. Carrying credit card balances at 22 to 26% interest while simultaneously trying to build savings is a losing mathematical proposition. Every dollar of 22% debt you don't pay down is costing you 22 cents per year in guaranteed losses. No savings vehicle, no investment account produces a guaranteed 22% return. The priority order for most households with high interest debt is employer 401k match first, free money that returns 100% immediately, then high interest debt elimination, then emergency fund, then broader investing. Skipping the debt paydown step to invest more aggressively feels financially sophisticated but usually isn't because the interest on the debt erodes the investment gains in most realistic scenarios. There is also a retirement dimension to the affordability question that most people either underfund or defer entirely. Fidelity recommends targeting 15% of pre-tax income toward retirement for long-term security. On a $90,000 household income, that is $13,500 per year, or about $1,125 per month. Most households contributing 3 to 5% to a 401k just to capture the employer match are well below that target, which means they may be affording the current lifestyle but systematically underfunding the future one. The fourth move is setting a clear cap on housing as a percentage of income before the next housing decision. If you're currently over 30%, you may not be able to move immediately. Leases end, mortgages refinance, circumstances change. But committing to the 30% ceiling as a firm constraint for the next housing decision, rather than letting income and aspiration drive the number upward again, is the most reliable way to prevent the structure from becoming more compressed. The fifth move is redirecting raises before lifestyle inflation can absorb them. The raise arrives. Before the lifestyle adjusts, before the new normal sets in, the automated savings transfer goes up. If the raise is $400 per month in additional take-home, the savings automation increases by $200. The other $200 is available for lifestyle. This is the mechanism that allows income growth and wealth growth to happen simultaneously, rather than income growth consuming all available resources while wealth stays flat. Here is the second banana moment, and it is specifically about the raise. Every time the banana shipment gets bigger, there is a very short window, maybe a week or two, when you actually feel the abundance before your brain recalibrates. That window is the only moment when redirecting the new bananas to the stash feels painless. Once the new normal sets in, touching those bananas feels like a sacrifice. The window is real. Use it. There is one more useful diagnostic tool for people who want to benchmark their situation against their local cost of living. The MIT Living Wage Calculator provides a breakdown by county and household size of what income is actually required to meet basic expenses without any discretionary cushion. If your income is close to or below the living wage for your area and household size, the issue is not lifestyle inflation or budget discipline. It is structural income insufficiency, and the solution is different from the behavioral fixes that apply when income is adequate, but allocation is wrong. True affordability is not about the size of your income. It is about the relationship between your income and your structure. A high income poured into an oversized structure produces the same feeling as a low income poured into a modest one. Not enough. The path from maintenance to affordability is the same regardless of income level. Spend less than you earn, automate savings before spending, eliminate high interest debt, and make deliberate choices about the fixed costs you lock in. None of that is complicated. What it requires is honest accounting and the willingness to let the real numbers drive the decisions rather than letting the lifestyle continue to outrun what the numbers can support. Drop a comment and tell me, which of the 5 signs hit closest to home for you? And if this video helped you see the difference between affording and maintaining your life, subscribe to Monkey Money. Every week we bring you the real financial frameworks that explain why the numbers feel the way they do. See you next video.